Now we're going to add a few more styles to this Sherlock Holmes document. I'm going to start by taking a look at the Paragraph Styles panel. If I double-click to get inside my text box, I could see most everything is using body, and we have a heading 1 here. I want to make a Scandal in Bohemia heading 2. So I'll click once anywhere on the line, and you don't have to highlight if the style applies to only one line, because a paragraph style applies up until it detects a return or an enter. Highlighting doesn't hurt, it just isn't necessary. So in the Paragraph Styles panel on the right, which is part of the Typography workspace, I'm going to hit the Panel menu and choose New Paragraph Style. And I've moved this window over so that as I build it, I can see it. I'm going to name this Heading 2, and I do want it to pick up the same color and font and size as Heading 1. So where it says Based on Body, I'll choose Heading 1. The next style means if something is likely to come after it every time you type in the document, choose that and InDesign will flip to that automatically for you. So it's logical after a heading 1 or 2 that you might have a body style. Now, what I'm going to change is in basic character formats at the top left, I'm going to make the size smaller. I'll do 14 point, and I can hit Tab to accept it. Tab triggers the preview, or you could click on any other field like leading, and that will trigger the preview. And 16 isn't a choice here for leading. It's common to go 2 points greater than the type size for leading or line spacing. So I'll type 16, and again, Tab on my keyboard will preview it. Now, I want the heading 2 closer to the paragraph it belongs to. So in Indents and Spacing on the left, I'm going to remove the space after. Space after always puts white space between your paragraphs. And instead of clicking here and pressing delete, or even double-clicking, a quick way to change the number is double-clicking dead center, and now I could type 0. And do you remember the key you hit to preview? It's Tab. Good. Once I've hit Tab, you'll see the number 1, the Roman numeral 1, is closer to this text, and that's the look and feel I'd like to go for. Now, I'll click OK, and here's a power user trick. If you go to the eyedropper tool, the eyedropper tool is in your toolbar just above the hand tool. I can move over so the tip of the dropper is on the words Scandal or Bohemia, and one click sucks up that style and loads it into the dropper. So now I can wheel down with my mouse until I find another spot where I might want heading 1 or heading 2. This document doesn't have any other headings because it's a book and it's got a chapter style, but for the sake of illustration, I'm going to pick a few spots. So I could click once, Not in a Good Cause, click once with the tip of the dropper, and What Then? This is a great feature for magazine and newsletter layout. It may not be as frequently used for book layout because there aren't as many intermixed headings. So to change these back, I'll go to my Type tool, click once on the line, and click once on Body to apply it. Same thing here, click once on the line, and click once on Body. In fact, I even like to drag my styles in order in the Paragraph Style panel, how they would occur. So I have heading 1, heading 2, body. You could drag these in any way that makes sense to you. But let's build another style. I'm going to go to my Pages panel and double-click on page 2. Page 1 is actually the cover that I haven't formatted yet, but page 2 is where the first chapter starts. And on page 2, I don't have any quoted text, but I do have something nasty down here. This single line all by itself at the bottom of a page or column is called a widow. A single line at the top of a page or column, which I don't think I have here, that doesn't really qualify because it's not part of a paragraph, but a single line by itself at the top of a page or column here is called an orphan. and it's typographically not pleasing. A lot of people would be tempted to do a couple returns to push that down, but if you add photos or do a text wrap or change your font, those returns or extra lines may creep in later. So let's have InDesign never allow a widow or orphan. If I go to Paragraph Styles and double-click on Body, I can hit Keep Options. Keep Options on the left, and all I do is check the box, Keep Lines Together. And InDesign calculated that I need at least 2 lines at the beginning of any page or column and 2 lines at the end of any page or column. And I will never again get one of those awful widows or orphans. They're actually off-putting to me when I'm reading novels. I'll click OK. And now, here on page 5, I could see some quoted text. And with the quoted text, I don't want all this space after in between, and I'd like to italicize it. I am deviating from the Sherlock Holmes book to modernize it. And I mentioned that in another video that I did. Modernizing to me means a couple things. One thing that I don't like the look and feel of is indents on a paragraph. I prefer white space between my paragraphs, and this is what I mean. If I double-click on body, in book publishing it's still very common, but I consider it an older practice. That's just my opinion. In magazine publishing, it's very common to do an indent to separate paragraphs. So they would do a first line indent of 0.25, and if I hit Tab, you'll see how the beginning of every paragraph is indented. That space also bothers me as a reader because that's just a little distracting, although it was more common practice and is still used heavily in book publishing. They would do that instead of doing the space after, the white space between the paragraphs. But I consider this an older look and feel. So I'm going to remove that first line indent and make it 0, and I've decided to relay out this book with white space instead of the indents. And I'll click OK. But on the quoted text, I'm going to start anywhere. I'll just click on this line, and I'll do a new paragraph style called Quotes. I'll scoot it over so that I can see it, and it will be based on body. So if I change my body style or font, the quotes also update. But in basic character formats, I will make the font style italic. And I could see that kicked in. And I also don't want the space after. So in indents and spacing, I will make space after 0 by double-clicking and typing 0. And I'll hit OK. Here's where you could use the eyedropper tool. Now I can click the eyedropper once, click once on something already using the style I want to reuse to load the dropper. A lot of people go straight for this paragraph, but that would load the body style, which is not what I want. I'm going to click with the tip on this line using my new quote style and simply click once on the paragraphs that have quotes. I just did a quick Command-Z or Control-Z there to undo because this line has no quotes. So wherever I find quoted text, I'm applying this quote style. And for the sake of time, I won't do it for the entire document. I'll just do it on this page. But this is how you could scroll from page to page and with one click apply a style. And that has been your tour of additional settings on paragraph styles and building a new style with no space after and using the eyedropper tool to apply your styles.